Welcome to our YouTube channel, In Our Basement. My name is Niels.
And I'm Gail. We're going to be having conversations and share our thoughts about things that we're really passionate about.
And just before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
And if you like the content, then feel free to share it on your social media platform. Hi, Niels.
Hi, Gail. It's another one.
Thanks for joining us here.
In our basement.
In our basement.
Dun, dun, dun.
Duh.
Dun.
We need to think of like a good jingle for a theme song.
Well, isn't that what the intro song is to our...
In our basement. Welcome here. Okay.
All right.
So, I have a question for you.
Okay. I hopefully have an answer.
Okay. So...
Because you didn't tell me the answer.
Because this is a question for right now. So, if you could have any superhero power from the list that I'm about to read to you.
Like any superhero power?
No. Just from this list that I have.
Okay.
Would you take it for 48 hours?
Nah. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I would. Because I want to be adventurous.
Okay.
I don't want to say no. That's no fun in the game.
Okay, I'm just pulling up my phone. Okay, the superpowers are... Are you ready?
I am ready.
Super strength.
Okay.
Like the Hulk.
All right.
So you can do anything with strength.
Okay.
You've got muscles beyond muscles.
That sounds pretty good. Oh, yeah.
Okay. You can move at the speed of light.
That's pretty quick.
And I was thinking with this one, it'd be pretty cool because at the speed of light, that means you can go to so many different countries.
Anywhere. Forget about these travel restrictions. Just go.
Exactly.
And then come back and go and come back.
And next one, time travel.
Ooh.
That's number 3.
3, yeah.
Okay. Number 4, you can breathe underwater.
Okay.
Number 5, read minds. So right now,
okay,
you can read my mind and what I'm thinking.
Dun, dun, dun.
And last but not least, for 48 hours, you can change into different animals. Or even you could change your identity as a human and walk in and be somebody else.
Be anyone. Okay.
Or you can be like a jaguar.
Squirrel. No, I mean
Okay. So super strength.
Yeah, okay.
Move at the speed of light.
I do like that one. Yeah, okay.
Time travel.
Yeah.
Breathe underwater. Read minds. Or change into different animals.
I'd be curious to try. I am leaning towards... Okay, super strength is pretty good because then you could be super strong. But then I'm thinking, what could I really use those skills for? No, there's a lot I could do. But I think I'm going to go with time travel.
Time travel.
Yeah, because that means I could go forward or backwards.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, where would you go first?
I would probably go into the future just to see what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Go 15, 20 years from now and see, hey, what is the world going to look like with all... Because I'm fascinated by technology and such, so I'd be curious to see, do we have flying cars? Because it's 2020 and we don't have those yet. I mean...
Because let me tell you, this man has been talking about wanting to do... There's the flying Ubers.
Uber and other eVTOL platforms, electrical vertical takeoff and landings. They're looking at developing an air taxi platform. So I'd be interested to see they're thinking of doing this in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Go look up Uber Elevate on YouTube or eHang and the Chinese company. I'd be curious to see did this actually happen?
Or watch the Jetsons.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So, we've gone into, after we've talked about some light stuff.
Superheroes. We're going to talk about kryptonite, the weaknesses of Superman, along those lines.
Okay. So, we've both gone through some really tough times with our health.
Yeah, we totally have.
And, I've gone through my physical things and you've gone through yours, and it's all been in our adult lives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I just want to ask you if you would be willing to open up today and tell us about some of the stuff that you've gone through and what you've taken from those experiences.
Sure. So we'll like hop onto my time machine and take everyone back. Like, let's go back. Okay, so telling about my experiences, yeah, for sure.
So, where did it begin?
Okay, so I'm in the military and in the Air Force specifically. So I did a land survival course, which was basically survival in the woods, learning how to survive like if your aircraft ever went down. I mean, we were on our own for 48 hours and I ended up drinking some lake water. Which ended up, I only found out about this like 6 to 7 months later. It was this thing out in Springer Lake, Manitoba. And, and that's what it was too, was that like I drank the water, but normally we would have boiled the water, to boil out any bacteria, but there was actually a fire ban around that time. And so we had to use purification tablets as an alternative. So it apparently just seems like maybe like the bacteria was too strong for the purification tablets. And so anyways, like 6 months after the fact, I was living in another province. I had moved there for Air Force flight training, specifically to Saskatchewan. And I just started feeling like sick, having some digestive issues. And then I ended up going to the medical clinic to get checked out. And they had found that the parasite had essentially quantified to an amount. And they were wondering, like, where did you go? Where did you travel to? I hadn't really gone anywhere and such. I mean, I had traveled to Ontario that summer to visit my mom. But other than that, like, couldn't really pinpoint it. And so it was kind of concluded that I very, very likely got that parasite on that course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did that come to mind quickly? Like, oh yeah, I did that. And
it didn't actually come to mind quickly. It wasn't until the doctor was asking, like, it seems like this, based on the amount that of the parasite that was found in my, call it digestive tract, they had wondered, they're like, it looks like to what it's quantified, that it would have been somewhere like in a specific time frame, to which all I could think of was like, that was, I was on that course at that time. And then that was kind of when it all made sense. And so the doctor had linked it to that training course and thinking that it was very likely found in water. And yeah.
So you were in phase 2 training to be a pilot in the Air Force.
I was, yeah.
And all of a sudden you get just stricken with this like pain
right.
and suffering, and you had to put a pause on the training. And it was like, how did that feel emotionally for you?
Emotionally, I would say at the time, like, I'm very strong in my Christian faith, but I would say that it was very, very challenging because, flying airplanes was a dream of mine ever since I was a little kid. And so at that time, suddenly in that moment, I'm seeing myself get sick. And then suddenly it just appeared as though in that moment that dream was maybe going out the window. Now, it was challenging because I was going through some physical challenges as well. Like, I wasn't feeling good. There was an infection, spent a night in the hospital, took some medication to to essentially flush the parasite out of my system. So compile all that with then the military grounding me from flying for about 2 months. And then I had another 2 months of kind of just waiting to be slotted on the next training course. So the good news of this 4-month gap, the good news of it was that I did return back to flying. Now, what I think, what God did in that moment was just open up my heart to realize that I think I had my identity in flying. Like my identity was in doing that, meaning that becoming a pilot essentially, and becoming a pilot in the Air Force defined who I was. And and for some that can be an issue or a thing, and these are not bad things. You should work hard, you should, if you can, like pursue a career, go to school, like do all those things as you can and follow your passions and your dreams, work hard for it. Right? But then the issue lies with the moment that begins to define you, then I think we have a bit of a problem, because then now when you are suddenly told potentially you can't do that anymore, then who are you after that?
So was it like, when was it that you were able to come to that conclusion? Like this was defining me, and able to overcome that and saying like, this isn't who I am.
I actually remember when I got like really, really sick in that time frame, and I was like fighting the infection. I remember having some pretty profound dreams, and then I was also, the most important thing in this is that I was in a lot of prayer. Like I was praying to God a lot, asking questions like, why is this happening? Why am I sick? Like what is going on? So it was in that time of like deep meditation, in that time of reflection with God, where I just felt like God spoke to me and revealed that my identity was defined by what I did.
That's so amazing, like hearing like that you were able to hear God speak to you. Is that something that so many people is like, God spoke to you? Like, did he come into your room and like, he said, hey, Niels?
Yeah, we actually like, he came and we talked, we chatted, had a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Because like, so many people, they're like, I've never heard from God, but like you were able to hear from God. Was that your first time hearing?
No, it wasn't. And I had like learned how to hear from God, just like with growing up as a Christian. But I mean, God can speak in so many different ways. Like for some, he'll speak in dreams and visions. For others, he'll speak in words, pictures, or thoughts. And so for me, it was in that moment, I think it was just even just the sensing of his presence. Like sometimes you can just feel it. Like you can feel the Holy Spirit. So I think it was a combination of like pictures and words that I was getting. I just felt in that moment of weakness and vulnerability to just really like turn to the Bible. And then also like kind of being grounded from flying and being sick, being on like sick leave or sick days for about a week or two. I had a lot of time on my hands to just, be sick and get better and such. And so to be able to like turn to resources, like a really good resource right now is called Right Now Media. So that's like the Christian Netflix of like digital content out there. So, I was like watching some devotionals and teachings on there, right? And it's actually like really well done. As a millennial, that stuff is really good.
Okay. Yeah. And it's not like the old what's some really old Christian movies.
Well, it has like old, it has like teaching from like back in the day, but it's also got like newer stuff, but it's not like it's not, I don't know, not like the Left Behind series with which is still a really good series, but like you can tell like cheaper production, things like that, right? But like really well done.
So in this time you were able to hear from God and you were able to learn these things. Was there anywhere else that you were able to find support?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I had lots of people praying for me. Family was praying for me. My mom was definitely praying for me. She had a lot of people on the on the prayer line. Like, just so that I was receiving that support from afar, but then also being connected to my local church and the young adults group there. I mean, they were praying for me and encouraging me. People at work were really good too, right? Like there was kind of like, that band of brothers, you could say, where it was just the chain of command and like workmates just checking up on me, sending me text messages like, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Right? Like, when you're sick, my experience has been like the military really does, from my experience, like look out for its people and such. And so I'm blessed to receive that. Yeah,
there's been people who have like come and you've been in times, because this wasn't the only time, unfortunately. There's been other things going on in your life.
Absolutely, along the way.
Do you want to talk about any of those other ones that have happened to you?
Right, yeah. And then there was another time where just like well, just to kind of backtrack, on the time machine.
Oh, wait. Can I say something?
Oh, sure, yeah.
What was something that happened in 2014?
Oh, yeah. During that time frame as well. You see, my wife, Gail, has... knowing, like, this is the cool part, was that, and you'll have to go back to the episode of online dating as well. That's another good one. But, like, this was the part where we bridged the connection of me rekindling the spark.
Yes.
So Gail has epilepsy and has also gone through some health challenges. So I actually reached out to you via Facebook as a friend.
Yeah.
I remember, and I had also seen that she was single, but, like, whatever.
Then you should have put a ring on it.
Oh, wait, I liked it.
He didn't like it, so he didn't put a ring on it, and I said, see you.
When? No, I did.
No, I'm talking about the guy who I...
Oh, that guy. Yeah, right.
Broke up with.
The guy you broke up with.
Because I was like, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways.
So then I started wooing her with Christian pickup lines and lame jokes,
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Asking you to join my purpose-driven life.
So it was like God put a pause on flight training so
Right.
he could press play on romance.
Amen. Come on. See, God works in mysterious ways, like working out everything. For
honestly, it's
like,
so funny.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Because...
Oh, yeah.
So tell us the next thing that happened in your life, in your health journey.
Right. Well, I mean... like taking the time machine forward. Well, actually, I'll just pause even just to say, like,
okay.
Another reason why I reached out to you was because, you have epilepsy. Mm-hmm. So I knew that, like, from our friendship from before that, like, you've gone through this. Mm-hmm. And so I reached out to you to ask, like, hey, how have you done through this type of stuff? And you were able to provide some encouragement for me. And then the spark got rekindled. Hey. And then, and then you joined my purpose-driven life. I walked around you 7 times, and then you fell for me.
Yeah. Okay. You just walked around me twice.
Well, really, I walked around you twice. Yeah. Book of Jericho, or not Book of Jericho. It's the story of Jericho and the walls come down. In case they got it right.
Because the walls of Jericho, they walked around the walls of Jericho 7 times.
Yeah, and on the 7th time it came down. Yeah, exactly.
And the walls came.
Or they walked around for 6 days, and on the 7th day it came down. After walking 7 times.
And the walls came tumbling
down.
There's a song.
Right. But, so next in the health journey was now you had joined my purpose-driven life.
Can I put a pause back? We're really bad at that right now.
That's okay. We're having so much fun.
Something that you mentioned was you came to me because you knew that I had gone through similar.
Absolutely.
And that just reminds me, we've been listening to the Luskos.
The Lusko podcast by Jenny and Levi Lusko from Fresh Life Church in Montana.
Hey, it's Jenny, or hey, it's the Luskos.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. And so something that they've gone through some really tough times.
Yeah, totally.
And the title of one of their podcasts, is that the title? Is Pain is a Platform.
Pain
is a Platform.
Yeah, and it's also a chapter in his book called Through the Eyes of a Lion.
Yeah, and so it's like, you knew that I have gone through some pain, and so you're like, okay, she can relate, and I think that's something that's happened to you too, is that
Absolutely.
You've gone through this pain, and so it's like, oh, okay, people have reached out to you. I'm struggling. Can you help me? Mm-hmm. And so if you're there right now and you're struggling, I pray that you guys can find somebody who can relate to you, and feel free. Like, we would love to hear from you as well. Just send us a message, and we'd love to pray for you if you're going through something, whether it be mentally or physically, because we really care about all of you guys. And so back to our story time.
Yeah.
You had your issues back 2014, and then
and then I had
we said I do.
We said I do, ba-doo-ba-doo. And then we moved up to Yellowknife because I was getting posted to 440 Squadron to fly the Twin Otter. You know, at that point, as you can now tell, I returned back to flying. All was good. I was healthy.
You got your wings.
I got my wings. That was a big accomplishment.
Another stripe on your
Got another stripe.
ranking.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I got up to Yellowknife a couple months later, got promoted to the rank of captain. Some really big accomplishments within the span of a year, right?
You traveled quite a bit.
And then I traveled quite a bit. Yeah, and then I went all over the north from like coast to coast to coast to like top of Canada, Alert, east as far as Iqaluit, west as far as Yukon. I think south we went down to Edmonton, Winnipeg so I was flying this plane called the Twin Otter. And yeah, like during that year, in our first year being in Yellowknife, I like was gone, like 3/4 of the
He
year?
was gone quite a bit. So shout out to all of those military spouses.
Shout out.
Who, have had their spouse gone for, a good amount of time. Thankfully, I mean, selfishly, I'm thankful that you weren't deployed for a long time.
Right, within the north, yeah.
But it was the pilot's life of, you were gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time sometimes. And so it was like finding those friends and other military spouses to stay strong with. So shout out to all of you.
And I think one of the hardest is when I was gone for like 12 days on Arctic survival in Resolute Bay in Nunavut, and we couldn't even talk to each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the north.
Well, I just didn't have a calling card because there was at the time, and there was no cell phone reception.
Yeah, there was lots of times that you were gone and there was no cell phone reception. It was like, I don't know where he is. But I think you called me several times from the air.
No, I wouldn't have done that. That would have not the air. Okay. No, I called you from the. Oh. No, I would not from the air. No, there was one time I called you that's what it was. I called. I figured out a way to get in touch with you. I think I was able to I remember. I called your parents' toll-free number for their store and left a voicemail when I was up in Resolute Bay because I didn't want to call collect, and then they passed on the message to you. That's what it was.
Was there not a time, though, that you called my parents...
Right.
On the toll-free.
Yeah, that's
right.
And
then my mom put the phone up to the phone.
Yeah, like this, and then flipped it over, and then we just talked to each other. So I called toll-free, and then she called you. That's so romantic.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then... Yeah, okay, so even with, like, health challenges on Arctic survival, like, I got frostbite on my feet. I mean... that was...
a little bit on his nose.
And a little bit on my nose, right? And so that was like an injury. I still got some pains from that. But the next thing that came up, after 3 years of being healthy and flying and all was good, was that I started having some, you could say, like gastrointestinal issues, which were almost similar to what I had 3 years prior. But now what started happening was that I had come back from an operation, or an exercise in Iqaluit, and the next thing you know, after coming back, I just started kind of feeling sick again. But now I was feeling sick to the point where I was getting lightheaded and dizzy, and so I elected to go and get checked out.
Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. There was other things going on too, all at the same time. It was like, again, it was quite a bit of a whirlwind, which then ended up resulting in a surgery. A few months later. Now, I think you were going to ask me, like, what was happening during that time? Like, what was I...
Yeah, like, what was happening when you were getting sick again? You were feeling this discomfort, and, like, what happened emotionally and spiritually during that time for you?
That's what it was. Thanks for refreshing my memory there. So... Now I was able to kind of like, here's the tough part. And I was like, when you go through a challenge, now you can usually turn back to past experiences and you can look and say, how has this experience shaped me? right? Sometimes you can sort of, I can't remember who said this. I'm going to quote someone where they said, like, you usually rise to the challenge, but I think sometimes you also fall back to the level of your training, right? And so I was able to kind of, after going through what I had gone through 3 years prior, I was able to recall now during this time of knowing that, hey, I'm not going to be able to fly for the next little while. And who knows how long. And I will say, even right now, like, I still haven't flown since then, but I'm trusting God in this process. And yes, this is a dream, but I've learned now, 3 years prior to that does not define me, that my identity is not in that. Now I was able to grow in such a deep dependency in God during this time. I just felt like so close to him. Like I really, like, I was in a lot of pain with some of the digestive challenges, you remember, but I just felt like God was so close. Like, that was, like, so unique. I felt like I really became dependent on God, which is a good thing, but I just felt like his presence and his comfort was just so close in such a, like, fatherly way, where it's like God the Father was just, like, really comforting me. Especially in the midst of my pain and then having to go through a surgery later. Now, what was unique that came out of it, because now here God is teaching me something and I'm becoming dependent on him, was that I had this opportunity to actually speak at our church.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and this was like,
you were 29?
Yeah, I was 29 at the time. And I actually thought, if I'm ever going to preach my first sermon, maybe the church at the Yellowknife Vineyard, maybe they'll let me preach a sermon on my last day, which did happen, right? But then, like, the pastor just asked me. I might have even offered or something, but I can't remember. But it was like September of 2017, and I got the opportunity to preach my first ever sermon.
And what was it?
What was my sermon? Oh my goodness. I think it was, Daniel chapter 3, faith in the fire.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I remember. Yeah, it was a story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and how those 3 dudes had faith in the fire. And boy, was that applicable to what was going on. Oh my goodness. Yeah, good memory. I actually forgot, like, that I came back to me just now. Yeah.
I knew it was something good.
Yeah, you knew. Yeah, like, it was like my first time, right? And then there were some leadership changes at the church. And then I actually, like, offered, because we had 2 pastors and one had stepped down, and I just threw my name in the hat and I said, hey, like, if you guys were wanting another pastor, someone to help out part-time, I was not going to be flying as much, I knew, for the next little while. And now my job was shifting from, like, being deployed everywhere, going around the Northwest Territories and Nunavut and wherever, it was going to be more 8 to 4 consistent, right, for the next year or two, that I put my name in the hat to accept a part-time, or to offer myself as a part-time pastor at the church. And then I came on staff in January of 2018.
Yeah, it's really cool how, like, you've had these 2 times of suffering, and both times, one of them being a really good opportunity.
Boom. Yeah, exactly.
And this other one opened the door to start, or just opening into a new type of ministry, because you had always been, from the time that I've known you, you've always been part of the worship ministry, playing the bass.
All about that bass.
And so, it was really cool that you got to... It's interrupting.
Sorry.
Okay. So it was really cool that you got to have this door opened to speak a message, a sermon.
Yeah.
And then another door was opened.
Right.
And what did you get a new job?
Well, yeah, and then I ended up being a pastor at the church part-time.
Yeah.
For a year and a half. And it was a year and a half because at the end of those 3 years in Yellowknife, it was time to get posted and go to our next location, which is where we live now. Yeah. Right. But that was amazing, actually, because, I actually said to myself, I was just like, listen, I would actually love, this is me telling God, like, listen, no, I'm kidding. But I actually, like, felt it on my heart. I remember saying and praying and a while ago thinking like I would love to go into pastoral ministry one day and to be a pastor. Caring for people, speaking, like I just thought I would love to do that. And I was thinking, maybe I'll do that when I'm like 45 or 50 years old. So like, like decades from now. No, I'm just kidding. But, like a while, not like anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking I'm in the middle of this flying career right now, like, and this is where I'm at. And so at the end of this trial, what was really unique was that it seemed like there was like a blessing of stepping into pastoral ministry. I mean, that doesn't always happen every time, right? It doesn't mean like just because, you go through like a rough challenge, suddenly there's like this reward, but it just uniquely worked out in that way, in the sense that everything that I had gone through in those months, which were so difficult, I just grew so dependent on God that it really helped me to step into that.
Yeah. And I think do you think, would you agree that because you had already gone through a trial, were you able to go through the second trial?
Yeah.
Okay, what can I learn from this? What can make me better? And looking for those opportunities.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I think what's unique too, yeah, exactly. Like, what had happened before had definitely helped me in this, you call it the second round, right?
Well, yeah, it was like a second.
Right.
Yeah.
But now it was kind of like being weak in the midst of leading a life group, right? Because we had people coming over, weekly or every other week, or weekly actually, for Bible study. We were packing our apartment out, thank God.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like,
had some good times. So,
and
shout out to all those people.
Right. So it was exactly, we miss you guys. We love you. Shout out to our Yellowknife friends. But, to those who like came out to our life group, like they saw me in my weakness. Like there was times where you led and there was times where I led, but it didn't mean that I needed to be perfect in order to have people over. I mean, we canceled life group for a week or two after when I was recovering from the surgery. And then we had people over, even though I was in like so much pain. Yeah. It was just so blessed to have people over to come and pray for me, right? Because it's like in my weakness, God is strong. And it's through that where like my pain essentially kind of uniquely became a platform just within the context of our own home, which even Levi Lusko saying, use your pain as a platform is even encouragement for me to share today, right?
Yeah. So for those who are listening and are going through something right now physically, or whether it be even mentally, there's people who are going through anxiety, depression, and what kinds of advice would you have for those people in getting through this?
Absolutely.
During their times of suffering.
For me, like in my faith, it was definitely turning to God and turning to Jesus to be my comfort and my guide in this. I would even constantly pray for healing. That was another thing too. Sometimes healing doesn't come right away, but I trust that it comes in God's timing, but it doesn't mean I should stop praying for healing. So prayer is something that I encourage. And then something that was really important was just having friends to support me within the church and within the military. So it was just so important to not go through this alone. And I never felt like I was ever alone in the midst of it. Like even when I was single and going through kind of like that first round where God was working in me, like what was my identity in, I was on my own and I was single at the time, but I didn't feel alone. And I didn't feel alone in that apartment because I just felt like God was with me. Yeah. And then for the third round, you were there to support me, as a wife, right? And so that was amazing too, was having that support in sickness and health. And so like, it was just, I think like it's important just to reach out for help, reach out to friends or family to help you and support you. And this just actually reminds me of something that, right, we were talking about this not too long ago, where like even right now, okay, like I'm recovering from a concussion. Depending on when we release this episode, like I fainted and hit my head at the end of June. And then ever since then, it's been almost 2 months now or so, and I've been working through post-concussion syndrome, meaning I can't look at screens for a while. I've got tinnitus. I've got ringing in my ears. I've got, sometimes I get dizzy here and there. Motion sickness is a trigger for symptoms like pressures in my head, things like that, right? Thankfully, there's no like damage, but post-concussion syndrome, and for me, it like there's no visual damage, although like the doctor in the ER said he saw a bump in the back of my head at the time when I came there. So that was the only real visual damage, but the rest is pretty much like it is what it is. And even in this season right now, something that I've been able to be inspired by is podcasts and audiobooks.
Yeah.
Right. So that was another good resource where we're like, if you're sick, like, or you got the flu, or you got like, or, you take a sick day from work, most people might binge watch a show, right? Or read a book, right?
Yep. I've definitely done that.
Right. But here I was able to like actually like know that like, I couldn't look at screen because that was going to be a trigger for my symptoms. And at first I was sensitive to the light and noise, but eventually I was able to be way less sensitive to that. And then I was able to read and listen to lots of audiobooks. That was really encouraging. Listen to lots of podcasts. So even in this season of like post-concussion syndrome, of being off work for some time, and then slowly reintegrating back into the work, right? Like, I mean, head injuries are so serious. But yet, like, even though something I thought that was so simple for myself has just been like such a setback, but God in that time has been speaking to me so deeply through audiobooks and podcasts. And I remember I asked you, I said, listen, if you had to choose, would you choose a healthy marriage and being poor and sick, or would you choose like a partnership and good health and being rich? And I know the answer. I know what my wife's going to say.
What do you mean by partnership?
And a partnership. So like a marriage where, thank you. I should clarify that. Like you don't really have a good marriage. It's kind of like you have a roommate, but you're not really married.
There's some bitter between.
Yeah, there's bitter. You're both like career driven. You're both kind of like doing your own thing, but it's like you live together, but you're not really like loving each other emotionally, through the love languages, things like this, And then I knew exactly what my wife was going to say, right? And then I know for her and for us, we don't wish this upon us, but we would choose a good marriage and being sick and poor any day over having the other two and having just a crappy marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Because like relationship is such an important thing in any aspect of your life, whether it be friendship or romantic. And number one, we believe that relationship with God is the most important. And like I don't know if this might be going off track a little bit, but I was listening to, hey, it's the Lescos.
Yeah.
And
check out that podcast. I don't think we've talked about it enough, but it's a good one too. Okay.
And they were just talking about what you're worrying about is what you're not bringing to God and giving up to Him and praying about.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of goes in with all this suffering, whether it be physically or mentally or relationally. It's like, bring it up to God in prayer and give it to Him. And then it helps not worry so much.
I just remembered something funny. Joyce Meyer, a preacher who's much older and from the States, she would say things like, worrying is like putting a down payment on a problem you don't even have. Sorry, trying to do a Texas accent here, but that was really good. I'll say that one more.
Sorry to you, Texas.
Yeah, I'll say that one more time. Worrying is like putting a down payment on a problem you don't even have. But even coming back to like what I asked you, like, this just goes to show like our vows. Right? Like, you stood by me and you said in sickness and in health and rich or poor, right? That means that's like any side of the spectrum, right? Like, do we take our vows seriously?
Yeah.
Right?
And we were also talking about the other day, I don't know if it was I said to you, but when we got married, it was like,
right.
I thought, because I was going through my physical things. I've been going through it since 2007. and it came out of nowhere, and I have gone through my suffering. So it was like that you are saying in sickness and in health to me means so much, that you are accepting me for who I am, and whether it be a healthy Gail or whether I have my physical issues and might not be able to do certain things, and yet you still love me. And that meant a lot to me.
Of course.
But now it's like the tables have turned.
And yeah, uniquely, right?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, now I get to understand I love you the same in sickness and in health. And so
Thanks,
love
babe.
you.
I love you too, from the bottom of my aortic pump.
Okay, how many times have you said that?
From my heart.
Okay. So, back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, my encouragement is for, I guess, like to pray and to turn to God in times like this, and to find support, from, family or friends or even online resources.
Yeah. I looked up some scriptures, and for what I would like to give is Isaiah 41 verse 10 from the Bible. It says, "Don't be afraid." This is God talking to us, his children. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Mm-hmm. So
that's good.
God says to us,
that is really good.
He'll never leave us, nor will he forsake us. He's always here.
Yeah.
Psalm 139.
I think so, yeah.
Where he says, like, I am there in the darkness, I am there in the light. You cannot escape me. And so it carries on to say, don't be discouraged, for I am your God. Mm-hmm. I will strengthen you and help you.
Wow.
I will hold you up with my victorious right hand.
Wow. That's so good.
Yeah, and so it's just like, give up your worries to him. Like the Luskos were saying in their podcast, don't worry. Pray about it. Give it up to God. And then Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30 says, "Then Jesus said, 'Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls.'
Wow, that's good. For
my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." And so it's just, this has been such a podcast about like the ways that God has helped us through our sickness and our troubles. But like, there's no going around that because for us, God has been our number one help. And he's been somebody who, like, he's our number one in our strength. And like, for me, going through my physical difficulties, I've made the choice that the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Yeah.
And so
I love that about you.
I love you. Yeah. And so like, the joy of the Lord is my strength, and joy is not just an emotion. Joy is a choice. Yeah. And so it's the way that you choose to live through your sickness. It's the way that you choose to live through your worries and your, and so it's those who are sick is turn to him, and he will help you. So yeah, all in all, it's like, you've gone through all of these ailments and this suffering, and you've had different opportunities closed, different doors opened. And do you feel like there has been something that you have taken from this as a whole? Like, what's the number one thing that you've walked out today? Like, right. Walking out today at this point in time, looking back, is there something that you are most thankful for in your suffering? That's a tough question.
Well, actually, you know what? If I'm going to be really raw, and I don't know if this is going to sound encouraging, but no, maybe it will. It's that, it's that the trials essentially that we go through in life strengthen our faith, right? So like, with that superhero power of, time travel at the beginning, I get to now choose number one by default of being so strong.
Yeah.
Because the trials have strengthened my faith, and there's been lots of joy, lots of tears, anxiety, uncertainty with the career and all those things, but knowing that like those things don't shape me or define me.
Don't let your sickness or your suffering define who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And don't compare yourself to others. Like, that is the most dangerous thing to do. And that's why, like, social media is so dangerous, because what people are posting on social media doesn't necessarily show what's behind closed doors, what's on the other side of the camera. Like, could be totally different.
And in a digital world, or even in some cultures, right, it's all about like being career driven, and that being like, who we are or shaping us, right? But actually, like, these are moments, when we go through these trials as Christians, for God to be glorified in the midst of it, for me to look back and say, hey, I couldn't have gotten through this without God. And I point back the glory to him for giving me the strength to work through these battles and challenges.
Yeah.
Right. And what was that verse you read in Matthew 11 about take my yoke upon you?
Take my yoke upon you, let me teach you.
I think, and it says, for my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give to you is light. That's one of my favorite verses. I think it's an excellent verse.
Oh my goodness.
Because it has the word yoke in there.
There's the cheese for today. The pun.
Well, I think there's been lots, and when we... And when I think about,
just put the cream cheese on thick.
This just came to my mind too, right? Like, when I think about not worrying, who are two people that don't worry? Timon and Pumbaa.
Timon and Pumbaa.
Hakuna Matata.
What a wonderful phrase.
It means no worries for the rest of your days. I don't want to have to copyright that song. Anyways.
So moving. So. Okay, you go.
Well, and laughter. You need to laugh.
Is the best
you need
medicine.
to laugh through these trials. It's going to be difficult, but you got to laugh.
And so that kind of brings me to what I was going to say is through suffering, whether it be a mental or physical, it is important. I think it's important to go through those times of being sad.
Right.
And just allowing you to accept, like, this sucks. So be fair to yourself. Allow yourself to have that time. But then make sure the most important is to be able to move over to Thanksgiving. And so I would encourage you, even for... I would encourage everybody, not just like those who are in suffering. I think everybody goes through things in lives, but I would encourage you to make a list of the things that you are thankful and grateful for.
Yeah, that's true.
Because whether you're in suffering or not, it's important to just remind yourself of the great things that you have in life and things to be thankful for. And whether it be like thankful to God, or whether to just have that attitude of Thanksgiving, of like, I'm so thankful. It's not just for once a year at Thanksgiving.
No, yeah, with turkey.
but yeah, it allows yourself to be in that positive, joyful spot. Totally. And just write down that list and just post it on your mirror, post it on the wall, so that you can be reminded of that positivity in your life. So
yeah, this has been really good.
So I just want to finish off with, there's so many people that, have people in their lives who are suffering or going through a really difficult time. And for both of us, we've gone through difficult times in our lives, and we've both had great people in our lives who have come to support us. And for me, what meant the most to me after, whether it been times when I've been in the hospital or been at home recovering, or whatever it was, the thing that I think meant the most to me was somebody sending me a text, giving me a phone call, just telling me that they cared about me, or coming over and spending time with me, bouquet of flowers, just putting that joy in my life, and a reminder that joy is a thing, and just that quality time. And I think that probably goes to show you what my love languages are. Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about love languages in some other podcasts, mm-hmm. but if you know what that person's love language is, whether it be physical gifts, word of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of kindness. Mm-hmm. Did I get them all?
I think you got them. Yeah.
I'm so proud of myself. So think of what are those people's love languages and just share with them. Show them that love language is going to be such a big support for them.
Absolutely.
And just share with them, like, hey, I'm praying for you, or hey, I'm thinking about you. If anything, letting them know that you are there and that they can come and talk to you if needed. So just words of encouragement. I hope that this was good encouragement for anybody who's watching or listening, and whether this be something that you can pertains to you right now or maybe in the future. So we love you all.
Mm-hmm, we do.
Thank you for watching and listening. Is there anything else that you want to say?
I think being on the receiving end when I was going through difficult times of everything that you just listed, it was just such a blessing. And so I think I couldn't agree with you more, Gil, is that, is to, maybe you're someone who loves to support people and come alongside them, mm-hmm. is that, you can be that light mm-hmm. in someone's darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be the light in the darkness.
Shine a light.
Shine a light.
Shine a light. Another good song. Thanks for joining us in our basement. And yeah, this was a really good episode.
Yeah, had a lot of fun talking, and thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you bet. God bless you.
Thanks for joining us today in our basement.
Yeah, and before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and share this content in your social media platforms, and we hope to see you next time in our basement.